This message is intended as a reminder that we are not licensed professionals, not psychiatrists or psychologists. If you have a serious problem, please seek professional help. The National Suicide Hotline is 1-800-273-8255. That's 1-800-273-8255.
Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Hearing all these letters read aloud by damsels not in distress. Host came to impress. Bitch, check your DMs. This is hot to press.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It's our Valentine's Day Spectacular episode.
We know that this Valentine's Day may look different for you, but let us just charm your ears with some impeccable date stories on this episode.
Yes, absolutely. And shall I kick it off with one of my personal favorites?
Yes, and just to clarify, by impeccable I meant miserable. So
miserable date stories, because if you're single on Valentine's Day like me, it never really bothers me being single on Valentine's Day because I think I have so many good girlfriends and so many great people in my life and friends. But just know you're not alone in your bad dates, and we're all here and we've all experienced them too.
I always have liked Valentine's Day, I think, because for some of us who have divorced families, stuff like Christmas and Thanksgiving can be difficult because there's such an emphasis on family. And I feel like Valentine's Day does a really great job, even though I know it's commercialized and Hallmark, whatever, but just like whoever you have in your life that you love, you get to appreciate. So whether you're single or not single, I think it is just nice to take a moment to love and be loved.
Yes. But on to my really miserable date story.
Let's go.
Okay, I was seeing this guy in Arlington. We had been on a few dates. They were nice dates, like sushi dates, so good dates. And then we were just chilling at his house one night, and it's a little toasty in there. The heat was up, and I said, "It's kind of hot in here." And he's like, "Yeah, it is kind of hot." And I was like, "Or is it just me?" Haha, it's my dad joke. And he said, "Yeah, you are really hot. You're a 6." And I was like, "Oh, excuse me?" He was like, "Yeah, you're a 6. That's good." And I was like, "As in my hotness ranking, I'm a 6?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's good. No one can be above a 6 unless you're Julia Roberts or something like that." And I didn't know what to say. It got so awkward. He told me I could leave. But then rather than leave, Lauren, I proceeded to hook up with him because I just felt like it was awkward and I didn't want to be making a big deal about it. This was years ago, by the way. I would have never done something like this today. But yeah, I think it's a good tie-in to our episode today because a lot of people kind of talk about coming into themselves and sticking up for themselves and kind of the stigma of being quote unquote crazy for sticking up for yourself if you're a woman. And I wish I would have had that good advice back then because I would have just scooted right out that door. But that's mine. And then my friends say on my tombstone now, will be written, "I'm not a fucking 6." So that's mine. And you said you had a bad breakup to share.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, if I'm honest, I really haven't gone on that many dates in my life because when I started dating Brian, I was in college. And before that, I used to be really afraid of dates, which is really funny. I just hated the whole who's going to pay, where are we going to go? All of the buildup just really freaked me out, which looking back was really stupid. But one of my very first boyfriends, we had a let's call it a 6-month relationship. And it's July, which is right around my birthday. He proceeds to come with me to an All Time Low concert on my birthday. Because at the time I was really into All Time Low. I also fainted at this concert because I have a really terrible fainting problem. That's another episode. Anyway, kind of romantic. I faint. He carries me out of there. Great. The next day, he breaks up with me. I'm miserable. I'm trying to get back together with him. A couple weeks later, I find out through one of his friends, because I'm like trying to talk to anybody and everybody to figure this out because I'm like all caught off guard. He had cheated on me twice. Some of my friends had known about it. Uh, Talking about like how people didn't speak up for themselves, I still for sure would have gotten back together with him even after finding out that he had cheated on me twice, because that was just like the level of security I had and the mental place that I was in. We segue. Later, these kids like had gotten into like rap battles with each other, and in the rap that they make like dissing my ex-boyfriend, one of the lines is blank, then you cheated on Lauren with 2 other C word.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that was a really great breakup story. I definitely learned to stop taking shit from shitty men and start speaking up for yourself. But I think it took me a lot of experiences like that to be able to date somebody like Brian.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like there's so many good themes coming out of both our stories and the stories today. Aside from like just sticking up for yourself as a woman and like normalizing that and not feeling like you're crazy for wanting like to be treated like a human is
Yeah.
a great theme. Second theme, don't date improv guys. You'll learn why after these stories. And something else I wanted to mention, and we just wrapped up with Leatra. She talked about it a little bit, how she dates women as well. Naz, she's also seeing a woman right now, and she wanted me to mention that because I think for a while, she said she was just like exploring her sexuality. I feel like she's really liking the experience with the current girl that she's seeing. And I think that's great. And I think if that's something that's ever been on your mind and you want to explore doing, like, don't ever let like society or anyone tell you that's wrong, because that's amazing and you should always be your true and authentic self.
Yeah, I think that's really important because I think on being your authentic self, sometimes like when you are going to call out bad behavior or you're not going to reveal something about yourself that's important to you, it is because a lot of fear of how society is going to accept you and just like wanting to be the norm. And like honestly, when I look back on that experience that is shared and like other experiences, I really think that I would have been doing a favor to them and to the women that came after me by just calling them out on that behavior, because like I can't tell you how so many of them like continue to repeat the same thing that they were doing. And I think that like there's such a fear on being mean to people or being perceived as crazy or being perceived as a bitch. But like when you can be honest with other people, you're doing a favor to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
So now that we have shared our own personal details, let's go talk to some incredible women and hear their miserable dating stories.
First up, we have Brittany.
All right, fresh off of her Goldberg's premiere, we have our friend Brittany on the podcast. Brittany, welcome. You want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, thanks. Well, I'm Brittany. I'm in Los Angeles from Sacramento. And I know Chloe from meeting you in line at a UCB show, RIP. And then I know Lauren from acting class.
Well, we're super excited to have you, Brittany. And I was remembering that you had told me about a bad date story that I think a lot of people can relate to. So please lay it on us.
Okay, well, it was trash. It was 2014. And it was in Sacramento. So I went to this comedy show. I guess I'm always a comedy shows. Or no, it was actually an improv class. And this guy, he was super hot. He looked just like Blake Griffin. And I was like, this is exciting. And so I don't know, we got to talking. He took me out on a date. So this was actually our second date, the bad one. He took me out for coffee. So we went out for coffee another day. I showed up, he showed up. And we're sitting there for like maybe 7 to 9 minutes. And he like, his phone rings and he was like, oh, like, do you mind if I take this? And I was like, yeah, totally. Of course. Like, no problem. So I just like hop on Facebook or whatever. And I like hear him on the phone and he was just like, what, dude? Like, oh, it's been so long. Like, what have you been up to? And he like leans back and is just like talking to this guy. And he's like, no, yeah, I've been up to this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. And then, and I was like trying not to like, this was at the time where I wasn't like a strong independent woman. So I was like, oh, I don't want to like say anything wrong. And so, or be confrontational. And so about 5 minutes pass by, and then another 5 minutes pass by, and he's still on the phone with this dude, catching up, just like talking about work. And I was like so uncomfortable. So I like got up and went to the bathroom. I called my friend who was in the class with me. So she like knew that I was on the date with this guy. And she was like, what the heck? Like, he's been on the phone for 10 minutes. And I was like, yeah, like, I don't know what to do. So she was like, well, I'm just going to tell you about my day then. And so I'm in the bathroom, like talking to my friend, trying to pass the time while he's on the phone. And then I like peek my head out. He's still on the phone, just like, like having this casual conversation. I look at my phone, it's been 7 minutes. So we're almost at 20 minutes total of this man being on the phone. And so I was like, I don't know what to do, dude. Like, so I came out, I hung up with her, and I just like sat in front of him and was like, and he was like looking at the door. So I'm just trying to be like, hello, like I'm still here. And I kid you not, another like 5-ish minutes go by, and I was like, my friend texted me, she's like, is he still on the phone? I was like, yes. She's like, just leave, dude. So I was scared, but I don't know. I just like didn't want to be confrontational, but I was like, this is ridiculous. So I just like grabbed my stuff and like tapped him on the shoulder and was like, okay, bye. And I just like scurried out of the coffee shop, and I like ran to my car because I didn't want to like talk to him or anything. And so I like start my car, and he like knocks on the window and was like,
he caught you. No.
Like, why is he looking confused? Like, of course you're gonna leave.
He looked so confused. And then the cherry on top, he like, I rolled down the window a little bit. I was like, yes. And he was like, was I being rude? Sir. And I was just like, yeah, a little. And he was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, please, like, let's just go into the coffee shop. I'll make it up to you. I'm so sorry. And I was like, okay. And then I did. And we like went back in and got coffee, and then we went to another comedy show, and then he like tried to put my hand on his dick, and I just like never called him again. It was weird.
Wait, in the comedy show or after?
After.
Okay.
Like walked me to my car and like kissed me, and I was like, okay, cool. And then he just like awkwardly moved my hand to his dick, and I was like, I'm gonna go.
Oh my God. This guy seems like he's off socially. Like, he just has a lot of like social issues.
And he was so hot that it was so confusing that he could be that. I don't know.
I like to say God doesn't give with both hands. So no, I feel like you brought up a good point though, in that like you were younger and didn't really have like the tools to stand up for yourself. Because I feel like I've been in so many situations too that you just like put up with and like keep going because you don't want to be like the crazy girl
or rude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like, it's appalling to think now, like if that happened to me today, even if that hadn't already happened to me, I'd be like, sir, hello. But like, I don't know, 20-year-old me was not about that.
Yeah. Do you feel like there were like experiences in your life that kind of taught you to like just stand up for yourself more and like just like kind of like cross out that rudeness before it even starts?
So you know what's funny is I was 20 when this happened, and I moved to Portland when I was 21, and it's like very apparent to me that when I was in Portland, I started listening to Nicki Minaj just nonstop. And I kid you not, like Nicki gave me confidence in life. And I was like, what? I can do this? Like I can say these things? And so I like came back from Portland, and my friends were like, why are you so like rude now? And I was like, it was Nicki.
No, I know. I feel like some of her lyrics though, like it does just kind of channel your inner bad bitch. And I think just like growing up and like even like meeting you, like I feel like you like really like kind of when we were talking about like our dating experiences and things like that, you were like, yeah, I don't put up with shit like that anymore. And it's, I don't know, it's just really nice to have like strong females that encourage you to be your most authentic self.
Yeah. Who has the time? You know, like I think just throughout the last few years, it's been so many like so much ghosting and so many fuck boys that it's just like I see what this is now, and I just don't have the time.
Yeah.
Well, I do think that like there is something about ghosting that like either people are just irresponsible with other people's feelings and don't have empathy for other people, or they're like so afraid to hurt somebody's feelings that they don't have the balls to just say like, hey, I'm not interested. Like, I think you're great, blah, blah, blah. Let's move on. And I think that like there is something about just like we're talking about and being a bad bitch and like being able to speak up for yourself and hold yourself accountable. Like also with the people that you're not interested in, like being able to have the empathy for them and saying like, hey, I don't think that this is going to work out. I don't see a future for us. Like, let's move on. Because I do think that like having that clarity for people makes such the difference. And like I have been on both sides of the spectrum for sure. And like I think when you do it to somebody, you give yourself like, oh, like I never led them on. Like it wasn't that serious. Like you make all these excuses when you do it to somebody else. And like it's never okay. And it's so much better to just be upfront.
Yeah.
100%. And I think that like, just like you said, like people who ghost, which I have done and it's been done to me for sure. But I just think that like, you don't have the like, it's either what you said, or you just don't feel like you have the like, the confidence to like face somebody.
Yeah.
You know? So, and it's like, I don't want that kind of person anyway. So.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, Brittany, thank you for coming on and telling your story. Tell people where they can find you.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm on Instagram at GiddyBrit.
And on the Goldbergs.
Oh, and I'm on the Goldbergs as of last night.
Yes, which is awesome. Cool. Well, thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Thank you.
Yay.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. My name is Nazenin. I am one of Chloe's besties. I'm giving myself that title. I'm from Texas originally. I moved to California in 2015. And I still feel like I don't know what's going on here, but I feel like that's the general part of living here. I live in Long Beach right now, and I love it. And a little bit about my dating history, unwell, I would say.
In a word.
Yeah, in one word. I tend to go for tall men who are emotionally unavailable, which like she's not different. Like I know that's pretty much the blueprint. But that's me. And I would say that right now I'm extremely single. Dating in COVID is somehow easier because you don't really have to date as much. So I just feel like my stress levels have gone down, just being extremely in my home. So, just perfecting the dating app intros and hoping to, I don't know, come out of this with better taste.
Nazi and I met in kind of an interesting way. We were in line for Mary Beth Barone's Cruel Intention show, who we've had on the podcast. Shout out to her because we love her. And it was her and her friend Preston. And I was there with my friend Lauren, and I was just kind of like, oh, hey guys. And they were just, I had this like confidence. They were standing there. I'm like, oh, hey, did you guys want to get in line with us? And they were like, we're not sure yet. They were trying to catch the second Cruel Intention show. They had already been to one Mary Beth Barone. They couldn't get enough. And so then they joined us in line. This was right before COVID. It was great. And then that was just the universe bringing her into my life. And I couldn't be more grateful. Aww. But no, something I love about Nazi is anytime I have a bad date story, she has one that doesn't exactly replicate it, but comes very close. For instance, just had a really awful date with this guy who definitely had a drinking problem. And Nazi experienced the same thing before. But Nazi has an amazing story to share with us today. So I'm just going to let you take the floor. Paint the picture, paint the day, paint the time, paint the place. Just please.
All right. Gather round. So I used to live in East Hollywood. And if for anyone who lives in Hollywood, they know that is not glamorous. It's on I lived on the other side of the Home Depot. So you know what's going on. You know the vibes. And I was out with a girlfriend. I had been talking to this guy. We'll call him Jake because I feel like that's a good nondescript, like struggling actor, white guy name.
Love it.
Yeah. So Jake and I had met on Tinder, which was my first mistake. He did improv, which was my second mistake. And he was a struggling actor, which you can guess was my third. So, I think we were at adult only, which oh,
Yes.
just miss it so much. Lauren's like, I know what's up. No. And I was there with a girlfriend. I wouldn't say it was a formal date because I feel like with improv guys, they just don't ask you out. They're just like, so this is where I'm going to be at this time. And if you want to come, then come. And that's the best that you're going to get from him. So I was like, I'm adults only. If you're out, like we can meet up. And he was like, okay, sounds good. We meet up. He's really cute. The vibes are good, but I was also like a little drunk already. So I probably would have been vibing with like, I don't know, like Michael Cera or something at that point. And he just, it turned a corner, and he was like the kind of guy who would mansplain the plot of Inception to you, but incorrectly,
oh my God.
like completely incorrect, and just missed the whole point. So he goes, I'm going to go to the bathroom, and I'm going to give you guys a lay of the land of the bathrooms because this is important. So just stay with me. So in adults only, they have 2 bathrooms, and they're both a single person bathroom with a kind of smoky glass door. So you can see like you can see people moving around in the bathroom, but you can't, exactly see what they're doing. So about 2 minutes later, I'm like, oh, I kind of have to go too. So I go wait outside, and whoever's in there, they're kind of taking a while. I don't think anything of it. I'm sitting there with my dirty martini. She's that kind of girl. And I notice 2 figures in the bathroom. And I'm like, oh, right on. And I see what appears to be a fellow lifting a woman onto the sink. And what ensues is what they don't teach you about in Texas sex ed, but I could guess. So I'm literally just like, okay, I'll wait like for them to be done. So the door opens, and out he walks with a girl that I had never seen before. And you would assume that someone who just got literally caught red-handed hooking up with someone else on a date would act a little bit shocked or remorseful or whatever. Full sociopath. He goes, hey. And I was like, hey? And she scurries like fast, like she was out of there. And I was like, what's going on? And he was like, yeah, like just don't worry about it. And I was like, oh no, like I'm worried. I mean, you guys were fully hooking up. He's like, no, we weren't. And I was like, yeah, you like hoisted her onto the sink. And he looks me into my soul and says, oh no, she just wanted to see if I could pick her up. And that is when I just surrendered to the fact that dating in Hollywood is just going to cause me to have to go to therapy at some point. And it was just so unwell. And he kept saying, he was like, well, I don't have sex without condoms, and I don't have any condoms, so you do the math. And I was like, that literally doesn't make any sense. That is not a logical response. It's not going to work for me. So
you know what I will say though about this guy? He must be a phenomenal improv actor, because this guy thinks on his feet. Like, he's got an excuse for everything.
Oh yeah, of course. I will give him that. Like, he's extremely believable, actually, to, I mean, a certain point. If I hadn't witnessed it with my own eyes, he could have talked me out of it. So that's the scary
I mean, this
part.
is advanced at groundlings kind of guy. That's what I'm saying.
Period. Yeah. He's probably thriving now. I mean, he is probably on like some kind of like Skinamax, like late night film, or, you know, being like a stand-in body double for, I wouldn't say Jake Gyllenhaal. I won't give him that much credit, but I hope he's thriving today in whatever artistic endeavors.
I want to dissect a couple things here. First of all, let's just like, who's this mystery girl? Do we think that he just found her in adults only?
So that's my guess because I don't think he was firing on all cylinders. Well, I mean, he obviously was enough to make good excuses, but I didn't see him like texting anyone or, doing some type of rendezvous. I don't know if he had that in him. But if not, I'm extremely impressed at just the efficiency. Like it took him like 3 minutes and he just like grabbed someone and was like, let's go to the bathroom. I hope she's doing well, actually.
Nothing against, women supporting women. Nothing against her. That was all on him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she saved me from, any potential, further wasted time with him. So for that, I thank her for her service. So
that is very.
She was probably just as scarred by the situation as you were.
She read the room quick and got out of there.
I also just like it's the gaslighting for me. Like he's like, joke's on you. I don't have any condoms. So like clearly yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty varsity. And so after that, I was like, okay, it literally, quite frankly, cannot get worse than this. So that also was a little bit of it was soothing for me to know that any date I went on after that couldn't be as bad as this. So I chose to see the light in the situation because otherwise I would have just packed it up and moved to like Idaho or something.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, how has that experience and your other experiences kind of like affected how you're dating now and like just how you see dating in LA in general?
I mean, honestly, yeah, for a while it was really just kind of sad because you just realize there's a lot of hurt people out there who are just kind of flailing and they have no problem bringing you into that and, making you feel like maybe you did something wrong or that you weren't enough for them. But, the reality is it's just you sometimes walk into a bad situation that has like nothing at all to do with you. So, I had dates and after that, obviously Chloe knows about, where I felt really bad leaving the date and I was just like, is this me? Like, is this something that I'm giving out and that they're reading? But I realized it's just, I feel like I just need to be better about recognizing red flags when I see them before it gets to that level. Because there were many, even with that guy, like he would fall off the face of the earth and then pop back up and gave me the whole, oh, I just got out of a relationship. So the signs were there. I just pretended not to see it. So now I have a little toolbox and I know what to look for. And it's resulted in a lot less, I guess, wasted time and self-loathing.
Yeah.
Did he ever contact you again after the night in question?
Yeah. So he actually, when I was leaving, he like followed me out. I was leaving with my friend and I got extremely wasted after that because I was just like, I want to forget. And so my friend was like getting me to leave and we were going to go to Burger King as one does. And he followed us out and he was like, where are you going? Like, why are you being crazy? Like, you're being so weird right now. And my friend like literally screamed at him and was like, back up, like, leave us alone. You're a weirdo. And then he proceeded to like blow my phone up, just repeating the same things. Like, I didn't do anything. Like, you're overreacting, like all of this stuff. So yeah, he did reach out again, but he just continued to double down on what he was saying. So yeah, no remorse, just vibes.
That's so gross and icky. And I mean, thank God you're like a strong person because yeah, I just don't understand how like the audacity. I guess I just don't get the audacity.
Absolutely. And I think it's also just a larger, not to get like all like macro, but it's just like a larger societal issue. Like men are not held accountable, period. And so they feel super confident doing this and thinking that it's going to be okay and that they're just going to be able to continue the behavior and no one's going to call them out on it, because that's what they teach us. Don't call them out or you're going to get ridiculed and it's going to get turned around on you and you're going to be made to look like the crazy one. So yeah, I think it's just overcoming that fear of like, how am I going to look to this person, and just separating yourself from the outcome, like being like, whatever happens here, I know that I did what was best for me and I don't owe this person anything, especially that early in the talking stage too. Like I've heard so many women who are like, oh, was I too harsh with him? Like blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you don't know this person. You don't really owe them anything, actually. So the fact that you're taking the time to like lay out what is not okay about their behavior is actually like, you're doing them kind of a service, and they probably have never heard it before. Or if they have, they just don't care.
Yeah, and clearly the guy is not sitting there like, oh, like maybe I shouldn't have just like lied to her blatantly after hooking up with somebody in front of her. So.
No, I think the whole like him being like double downing on him not doing it was just like, that was for him. That wasn't for anyone else but for him, and to make himself feel better. And that's so gross.
Yeah, exactly. It was really, I feel like someone like that is just kind of narcissistic and they have no concern for anyone but themselves. Like, and all three of us just sitting here, could you ever picture yourself on a date or meeting up with someone and having even the inkling to do something even close to this? No, because it's like common human decency, and some people just don't have that. So I feel like therapy is in order
for so many men.
That's our next executive order. We did it, Joe. Mandated therapy.
Oh, well, thank you for coming on and sharing your story. Nazi is about to be the best lawyer this side of Long Beach. And tell people where they can find you.
So you can find me on Instagram. My @ is Nazenin _E, and I will spell that for you, NAZENIN _E. So thank you guys for having me on. It was so much fun.
No, this has been amazing. Thank you so much.
All right. We're so excited to welcome my friend Leatra. So good to see you.
Good to see you again.
And do you want to do the little awkward intro where you say your name, a fun fact, all that good stuff?
Yeah, I'd love to. My name's Leatra Tate. Fun fact. Skip that one. I'll come back. So I guess a little bit about me. Chloe and I met in grad school studying psychology. Interestingly enough, we both sort of veered away from psychology after that program. But I started doing like more community engagement stuff. And so I finished my dissertation in December 2019. Did some really cool research on Black women's experience with sexual assault in the context of higher education. So, navigating like relationships and like social psychology has been, a big part of that research. And then I've just been doing lots of community-oriented stuff since then. So that's been really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And you were saying you just started like a dissertation, like consulting business. Was that it?
Yeah, so I had a couple of friends reach out to me last fall. They were just really struggling to like get to the finish line with their research, and so they just said, "Hey, can you like help hold me accountable and support with like APA formatting and stuff like that?" And so it was literally like getting on Zoom calls while they were writing, like asking them questions about their research, and I was able to turn it into a business. So I started dissertation coaching and editing business. So I've been working with grad students all across the country to help them finish their dissertations, but also just like helping them with like coming up with research questions and all kinds of different levels of support through their grad programs.
Well, I wanted to go into that a little bit because you were going to tell us your bad date story today. And I think that it kind of seemed like it was a little bit relevant to your work and like someone trying to like get in on that. And so, yeah, just go ahead and lay it on.
Yeah, so my bad date story isn't like really a date at all. Like it started and stopped in the DMs. So, I still think pretty appropriate. But so basically it starts with me, like maybe 6 months deep into like the pandemic, and I'm like, all right, how do I best use my time? Let's download the apps again and give that a try. And I had also like just moved to Erie, so I'm like, cool, new like dating scene to navigate. And so I had done like Hinge, Tinder, all of those, but then I was like, I'm just really in a space where I'm like trying to become more of an adult in terms of like looking for something a little bit more solid and a little bit more, something that has the, I guess, like guise of commitment. And so Match, for whatever reason, Match.com crossed my mind. So I looked at Match, and it really is like, that's the perfect way to describe the people on Match.com, is like this guise of like, everyone thinks that they're looking for commitment, and everyone like has these really lovely stories of how they're just like ready to settle down and like ready to commit and ready for love. And so it looks really cool, but then like you start talking to people and you're like, oh, this is the same thing, just packaged differently. Awesome. And also like in a little bit of an older age range too. And so like that was the thing, is so I like matched with this guy, and we were talking for literally maybe like 20 minutes, and he's like, hey, like, can I take you out? And I was like, maybe, like, eventually, but I know nothing about you. So like, let's just keep talking. And, also still we're in a pandemic, and I'm not just gonna, you have to be selective in who you like give that time and energy to. And so I was like, yeah, maybe, like, let's just keep talking and kind of see where things go. And he's like, okay, cool. And so we talked for a little bit, and, the 20 minutes of conversation, like back and forth that we were having, just like also wasn't great. Like it was super basic, like, oh, I do this for a living. I do this. And, just like really surface level stuff. And so like we talked for maybe another 10 minutes. And then all of a sudden he, I think, had like blocked me or deleted me. I was like, all right, cool. Like, that's fine. Like this, I don't think we were going to end up like meeting in person anyway. And so, I go on about my life. Not even 24 hours later, I get a message on Facebook from this guy. And we didn't have any like mutual friends. I had never seen this guy. He worked as a medical doctor here in Erie. And so I just like, I haven't had a medical doctor here in my hometown of Erie, Pennsylvania since I was literally like 17, 18 years old. So I was like, I have no connections to this guy. But all of a sudden he like messages me on Facebook. And so I open it, and he's like, hey, I saw that you have a dissertation editing business. I have a lot of experience as a medical researcher and writer. Like, if there's any way I can help, let me know. If you're looking for any like additional writers, I'd be happy to support. And so my initial instinct was like, okay, like fuck off. But like my second instinct was like, all right, we're just gonna like delete this and ignore it, because like, that like it's beyond ridiculous for him to think that was okay to do. But then I was also like, I took maybe like 20 minutes or so to like sit and think about it. And I was like, no, like, how dare he try to like reach out to me for a job? And, he just blocked me. And so like when he, we were like in the middle of conversation on Match. It wasn't even like, the conversation had like lagged or died off or whatever. It was like just literally his profile was gone. And so, what I ended up saying was, I was like, hello, like, I find it odd that you would think it would be appropriate to delete me or block me on this dating app after I refuse to go out with you immediately. And then you would proceed to find me on Facebook and send me a message asking me to hire you. And I said something like, I would just appreciate it if you would no longer contact me. Like, just sit with that information. And he said, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I didn't mean to be creepy. I'll leave you alone for now. And then he blocked me on Facebook. And I was just like, this is like, I was so dumbfounded. Like, it was the most ridiculous thing I think I'd ever experienced, you know, because you have like bad, like exchanges with people on dating apps. Like, most of it is like just inappropriate, or some people are just awkward and like conversation dies off. But for someone to like block you on a dating app that you found them on, but then find you on an app that is much more personal, like he had to have looked up my name and like, you know, found me that way. So it was just like, what even is this exchange?
Yeah. Did he not even mention when he like reached out to you, like, oh, hey, like it's me from Match or whatever? Like
No.
That's so
no,
weird.
Literally, I can read you verbatim what he said. He said, hi, I saw that you have a dissertation consulting company. Are you looking for help? I'm a PhD with significant experience as a medical writer. And I'm like, how, in what way do you think I would completely forget that less than 24 hours ago we were like communicating in another space, and then like all of a sudden I would be like, oh, actually I am looking for a medical writer to like hire for my work.
Had you told him about your company, like when you were on Match?
Absolutely not. I think, and it's actually, okay, so it's not even on my profile, like as, you know, a thing that I do, but I think I do have a public post when I announced on Facebook that I opened or started this business. I think I made a post that was public, because my profile is pretty like locked down for people that I'm not friends with. So he had to have like searched for my name, found my profile, looked through like my history for when I like made this post and this announcement, for some reason thought that it would, you know, be a good job for him, and then reached out to me about it. So just like several levels of like audacity and like ridiculousness.
And I like how his solution is blocking on everything. Like,
like for everything.
I know how I'm going to solve this, and it's I'm going to block her.
Exactly. Like, okay, bye.
Yeah, it's just like so inappropriate. It's also not like you literally just started this business, and he's like trying to apply for a job that is not even posted. Like, I just
exactly. Like, sir, you are literally a medical doctor. Like, you're good. Like, let me have this like thing that I'm doing in this space that has nothing to do with you. Like,
yeah, exactly. Well, I think it's like just a good lesson of like, I think that like men just do weird things sometimes, and like girls spend a lot of time like trying to overanalyze it, but that's just odd behavior that doesn't even like deserve a second thought. And I love that like that's how you responded to him.
Absolutely. But like the thing that it made me realize, like, you know, because like I said, I was just like, you know, I was floored, and it took me a second to really like think about what it meant for me. But I was like, he like, to say, oh, I didn't mean to be creepy, is like, you, first of all, recognizing that you are creepy. But secondly, it's you like trying to like weaponize my emotions against me. And it's trying to make me feel like I'm in the wrong for calling you out on your shit when, you know, you need to be called out. And like I said, my first instinct was just to like ignore it, because I think, you know, as women on these like dating apps, especially, well, in dating in general, I feel like we are just conditioned to like take the safer way, which is like to disengage and to like protect ourselves in that way of like, you know, not being combative or not being confrontational. But, you know, we can't look at sticking up for ourselves as being confrontational. Like, we have to let them know that like, this isn't appropriate behavior, and you have to like own that. Right? Because it's like, it's his stuff to like work through. It's not mine. I don't need to like move forward and feel bad about calling you out. You need to like think about what you did and think about your behavior before you like, you know, and sit with that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think that's interesting, because I know you said you do work with Black women and sexual assault. And I feel like those themes are ever present when you're looking into that too, right?
Absolutely. Like, you know, especially when it comes to like, you know, so there's like this sort of spectrum in this sort of continuum of what sexual violence looks like. You know, we think about sexual violence as like one particular thing, which is like this, you know, the most severe and, you know, intense, but like there's again, the spectrum and this continuum of it. So I think we as women, or like feminine presenting people, like we experience sexual violence in so many ways on a regular basis. It's just been normalized for a lot of us.
Yeah.
And so, when we're like going about life, we see these things and we're like, oh, this is just like normal behavior, regular behavior that we have to navigate. But it really is like, yeah, like you have to like recognize it for what it is, and you have to figure out ways to navigate it. And a lot of it is like I talked to a couple of my friends about it the next day, and like they didn't quite get like the emotional side of it, because it was kind of like, oh, like she's just being a little bit dramatic about it. And maybe I am ultra sensitive because of like the work that I do, but in the research that I've done. But I think it is like, thinking about like this sort of spectrum of like bad behavior that we, as like feminine presenting women or feminine presenting people are forced to deal with on a regular basis. It's not normal. And we need to own that. And we need to like think about and feel empowered to respond back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's almost like a snowball effect, I think. Like as soon as you don't start calling out one thing, then like more envelopes and envelopes and envelopes, and that's what turns in. Like I think that we as women need to be better off like cutting things off when the behavior starts to become negative, like right away, so that there isn't that snowball effect. So I think it's really important what you said about just like you see bad behavior, you call it out, because I think we as women are so conditioned to like continue to tolerate things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I know you're going to be speaking with people who have had to sort of navigate these bad dates in person, and that's a very real thing too, because we sort of have a privilege in a sense when we're navigating this conversation just through a social media or just through a dating app. We have that additional level of protection that you don't necessarily get when you're in person. There's plenty of stories. And Chloe, I don't know if you remember, but like when we were in grad school, there was a woman, at least one, I know there was a short period of time in which 2 women were killed for saying no to like some dude who was trying to talk to them on the street. And like, so our actual lives are at risk when we're calling out this poor behavior in person or just ignoring it, right? Because like dudes' egos are, bruised when we just ignore them too. Yeah. So it's this very real thing of, feeling empowered and taking those moments to reclaim that power in ways that we can, and navigating that in like the dating apps is like a very accessible, I don't want to say easy, but it's a very real and accessible way for us to like put that into practice of just saying no and calling people out on their crap when they're like doing stuff that's just not appropriate.
Yeah, for sure. No, I love this message because I've been talking to Lauren about this lately. Like, I think it's just like these little subtleties that like kind of add up. And honestly, sometimes like I'll talk to like my male friends that are like, good guys or like, and they are, for the most part and consider themselves to be, but they'll just say things and they'll word things to me. And I'm like, you've really gone your whole life thinking it's okay to like say these things. Like they don't even realize like that it is like disrespectful or it's like kind of like a little jab at you. So yeah, like, not calling that out like leads to like them just thinking it's okay to go through life like that and talk to women like that. And it's not. And like for someone to say, I don't know, you said something like people kind of didn't understand like the emotion behind your response to him. But I've been there on a dating app where I'm just so fed up with like 5 different guys have like done something shitty to me. And then like this 6th guy like really gets it. Yeah. And like looking from like the outside view, he didn't really do that much. But at the same time, I'm just like so sick of it. Like all accumulates. So if you don't like speak up whenever it's happening, that's going to happen. And you're going to like have this outburst when you should just like calmly be telling them every single time, hey, that's not cool. Like
absolutely. Absolutely. And it's kind of like I don't know, it's a double-edged sword in a way, right? Because you also want to protect your energy and you want to protect your heart and like what you emotionally invest in. So you like you said, you don't want to like let it build up to the point where you are like so emotional about it and you just like rage out at this, one person who may have just like, sent you the wrong type of emoji and you're like, like, fuck you. But you also like, to call that out every single time can be exhausting, because there are lots of people who are in the DMs who are creeps, and like they lead with that. So, to call that out every single time is also, a lot of emotional investment in that. So it's, it's kind of like, how do you manage it? But I think, like I said, for me, it comes back to this sense of like, I'm very quick to block people, so I'll block you like immediately if I feel like it's going in an inappropriate place, or, it hasn't quite gotten there. And, like, dude, sometimes, and women too, because like, so I identify as queer, so I date women as well. But like, there's lots of people who are just inappropriate in terms of how they like handle these dating situations. But, I don't know where I was going with that story, but it's just, I feel like you just have to like pick and choose. But also for me, it's really a practice, and it's a practice that I'm doing this for myself to know that like I can stand up for myself in these ways, and like it's okay for me to stand up for myself in these ways. But also like these people need to know that you can't approach dating in this way of like just being however you want to be to people. Like, these are real people on the other end of these apps that you're engaging with, who have to sit with the stuff that you're saying to them.
Yeah, no, totally. Yeah, and you know me, I mean, in Pittsburgh, I was like always on the dating apps, but like I've taken a break recently because I was finding like, even if I was on Hinge, if I liked a guy and he let me start the conversation, I was like, fuck that, I'm not doing that. I already liked you. And I was like, okay, Chloe, it's time to take a break. If like literally everything's annoying you, like, okay, like I like, that's where I did really need to like protect my energy, because I was just like having bad experience after bad experience, and that can just really take a toll on you and like well-being.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this NPR article has like really stuck with me, that I listened to a few years ago, and it talks about sort of like the immediacy of dating apps and how that's really sort of warped our perceptions. And so we don't like look at talking to someone as an investment of time in like getting to know that person in any real like meaningful sense. Like, if the connection isn't instantly there, or if they're like, if they approach the like initial contact of like, oh, you let me as the woman like make the first move, like on to the next one, like, so we like go through these moments where we're like, okay, like this person clearly isn't it, because like they don't hold, and we make assumptions on their value set from these like immediate moments and these like really small instances with them. So that's just sort of like the age of dating that we're in right now. So like, I don't know. Again, I think it's really important to get into that practice as we're like navigating the apps of like, taking ownership and like really feeling like we are in control as women in how we're managing that space. Because I feel like oftentimes it's like the default of like men are like the leaders and they're leading how that engagement is going. But like, again, this is like a safe way for women to take the lead in what those engagements look like.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I know that's why a lot of people like Bumble. It's just not for me.
I don't like it either. I'm also like, ooh, I don't want to actually message you first. So
yeah. That's what I learned. I get annoyed because then I like will put an effort on Bumble, and I'll like really point out something in their profile, and then I like make off of one assumption. Maybe they had a busy day and couldn't respond. I'm like, that person's a piece of trash. Like,
yeah.
The dating apps are just wild. Yeah.
I think it is like, even in doing that, as like irrational as it may seem, I think it is like, that's still reclaiming our power as women, and I'm always supportive of that.
Yes,
absolutely. Because we're still navigating like the dick pics and like the inappropriate like messages anyway. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, like we said, it just all piles up. But this has been an awesome conversation. Thank you for coming on, and tell people where they can find you and learn more about your business.
So my business is called LBT Dissertation Coaching and Editing. So it's lbtcoaching.com. You can also find me on Instagram at Leatra, Leatra, period, Brennell.
Awesome. Yay. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was great.
Thanks for having me and let me tell this crazy story.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening to all the bad date stories. They were really fun to recap. And thank you for listening to season 1.
Continue to subscribe, continue to rate, continue to write us your letters, and we will talk to you in a little bit. It's going down in the DMs.
Bye.